Modern has gotten stale with the lack of brews. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a crazy brew and dominating the modern format. This is the brew that we are going to be taking, and it is trying to abuse the new card Samut. And if you haven't seen the new Samut, it's a 3-mana 2/3 with First Strike, Vigilance, and Haste. When a creature you control deals combat to a player this turn, if that creature into the battlefield this turn, draw a card. So the way that we're going to be trying to abuse this is by playing it with haste creatures and with Squee and Goblin Rabblemaster, meaning that Samut gets to trigger off of both of these every turn for the rest of the game. And when looking at other cards in our deck, we have Bomat Courier and Ragavan, which Bomat Courier has haste and Ragavan can be dashed from your hand, meaning this will also trigger Samut. And if you're worried that we don't have enough value, we are playing Collected Company, which is an amazing 2-for-1, and Seasoned Pyromancer. And in addition to this, we are playing cards like Bone Crusher and Fury so that creatures are no longer a problem. And while we do have a lot of 3-drops, we are playing cards like Ignoble Hierarch, Wall of Roots, and Ragavan all to ramp us to 3 and 4 mana. So we're going to be taking this sweet brew by my patron Bintius, thank you very much, and not losing a single game. Match 1, we're on the play, and hand's a little too land heavy, so we got them all. And our 6 is much stronger, we'll put back a Squee. We'll go turn 1 Den into a Ragavan. Opponent goes Island into a Crab. We top deck a wall, we'll attack in with Rag. And no blocks from the opponent. We exile land, so we'll cast out our wall, shock in our Stomping Ground, and cast a Bone Crusher, killing their Hedron Crab. Opponent plays a tapped Grave. We draw another Bone Crusher, we'll attack in with Rag. Ooh, we exile a Surgical. We'll 100% cast that, exiling their Crab and looking at all their stuff. Their hand looks pretty bad here. Wow, they do have some weird cards in here, but let's exile the Crabs. And then we'll cast out a Bone Crusher. Opponent plays the Darkswitch Soar into a Fractured Sanity, milling 14. We draw a Forest, we'll cast out our Collected Company. Ooh, we get a Samut and a Wall of Roots. Then we'll attack in with the team. And Samut triggers, drawing us a card. And then we exile a Crab with Ragavan, which we will not cast. Then after combat, we'll cast out another Bone Crusher. Opponent plays an Island and then cast a Glimpse, milling 10. Then draws 3 with the Visions. And they scoop it up. Let's get on to sideboarding. Oh man, they just conceded everything, so let's get on to match 2, I guess. Match 2, we're on the play, and hand looks fine. We'll go turn 1 Den into Bomat Courier, and then we'll poke the opponent for 1, exiling a card. Opponent goes turn 1 Foothills into a Traverse, grabbing a mountain. We draw a Fury, we'll play out our Stomping Ground, and then attacking for another 1. Oh, they have a Wrenn 6, and they kill our Bomat. Bye, Mailman. On the end step, we'll stomp down the Wrenn 6. Ooh, Spyro's a good draw. We'll go Besage You into a Samut, though, and we'll attack in for 2, which draws us into another land. Opponent goes Foothills, passing. We draw Bomat, we'll play that out, and attacking with the team. And Bomat connects, drawing us a card off Samut, finding a company. So shock in the Stomping Ground and cast out our Bone Crusher from exile. Opponent plays out a Nissa into a Windswept Heath. Then they play Fetch Land, getting a Plains, and grabbing a Solitude off of Nissa. Then they evoke out a Fury, killing our Samut and the Mailman now. And we find a Rebel Master, so we'll cast out our Coco. Ooh, we'll grab Rebel Master and a Squee Dubious Monarch. And then we'll evoke out our Fury, pitching our Rebel Master. And we'll take down the Nissa. And then we'll attack in with the team. And opponent's down to 2, so we have Bone Crusher to kill. And they have an Omnath. Into an evoked out Fury, which kills both of our 3-drop goblins. And then they have a Besage You. We draw a land, we'll attack in with the team. And they have a Solitude, which they evoke out, pitching to Fairy, killing our Bone Crusher. So we'll play out our land and cast the Spyro, finding 2 more lands. It looks like nothing from the opponent, so we'll cast our Squee from the graveyard, and we'll attack in with the team. And before combat, they Leyline Binding, exiling our Squee. So we'll play Verdant, and no attacks for us. And again, looks like nothing. We draw a Ragavan, we'll dash it, shock in the Stomping Grounds, and then activate Den. And they have an Unholy Heat for our Den. And we'll attack in with everything. And they block our Ragavan, taking 4. And again, apparently nothing, so we'll attack in and go for lethal. And they scoop it up. Wow, we beat 2 Furies, a Solitude, a Wrenn 6, and Omnath. Wow, that's crazy. Let's get on to sideboarding. And I don't think we want anything for this matchup, so we'll just submit. Game 2, our starter is perfectly fine. Opponent goes turn 1 Foundry. We top deck a Squee, we'll go Gorge into a Hierarch. Opponent plays down Ending into a Windswept Heath. We find a land, we'll cast out our Bomat, attack in with our Mailman, then play out a Mountain. Opponent plays a Heath, passing. We draw a Bone Crusher, we'll play our Sokinzon into a Samut. Before combat, they cast a Leyline Binding, taking down our Samut. So we attack in for 1. Opponent plays out a Plains into an Omnath. We find a Hierarch, we'll pitch cast our Fury, getting rid of our Bone Crusher. Then we'll play out a Squee and attack in for 4. Opponent fetches out a Forest into an Elishnorn. We draw a Gorge, we'll play out our Hierarch, play out our land, and attack in with the team. And they block our Squee, and they're down to 7. And we'll pass back. Opponent attacks in for 4, passing back. We draw a Ragavan, we'll play that out. And in response, they cast a Solitude, which triggers twice because of Elishnorn. And they try and kill our Bomat and a Goblin, so we'll sack our Bomat, drawing 4. And we'll shock in a Stomping Ground, then cast out our Collected Company that we drew, finding Spyro and a Samut. And at this point, we're just too far behind with their board state, so we'll scoop them up and get on to match number 3. For game 3, we're going to take out 2 Wall Roots for 2 Magus. Game 3, our starting hand looks fine. We'll go turn 1 Den into a Bomat, poking in for 1. Opponent goes Strand, we draw a Fury, we'll attack in for 1, then play a Gorge. And in our end step, they Unholy Heat our Bomat. They play a Boseiju into a Rin, taking up, getting back a Flooded Strand, and we draw a Rebel Master, we'll fetch out a Forest, then cast out a Rebel Master, and they pitch cast a Solitude before combat, killing our Rebel Master. Then we'll Evoke out a Fury and kill their Rin in 6. We draw another Company, we'll cast out our Squee, and we attack in for 3. We'll cast a Traverse, find an Adatha Triome, and we find a Ragavan, we'll dash that out, and they cast a Leyline Binding in response, taking out our Squee, into another Binding, taking out our Ragavan, and we'll attack in for 1. And nothing from the opponent, we'll play out a Sokenzan and cast out a Company, finding Samut and a Rebel Master, and then Holy Heat our Samut, and we attack in for 2. Then they evoke out a Fury, killing our board, which pitches a Rin in 6. We draw a Fury, and we'll cast out another Company, finding Magus and a Spyro, and we'll discard our Fury, drawing into Samut and another Spyro, and opponent scoops him up. Let's get on to match number 3. Match 3, we're on the play, and hand's a little too slow. Our 6 looks great, we'll put back a Wooded Foothills. We'll go turn 1 Gorge into a Ragavan. Opponent goes turn 1 Stomping Ground into an Epicure. We find a land, we'll fetch out a Forest, and cast a Bone Crusher, killing the Epicure, then attacking in with Ragavan, which exiles the land and getting us a treasure. Opponent plays a Mesa into a Kodoltha Rebirth, and we find a Wall Roots, so we'll play that out, shock in our Stomping Ground, and then cast out our Rebel Master, and we might as well as attack in with the team, and they trade off 2 Goblins. Opponent plays a Mountain into a Reckless Bushwhacker, and we find a Bone Crusher, but we'll cast out Squee, and we remove a counter from the wall so that we can hold up Bone Crusher, and we'll attack in with the Goblins, and they trade off, taking 1, going to 13. They play a tap Stomping Ground into another Bushwhacker, so on the end step, we will stomp it, and we draw another Rebel Master, such a good draw, so we'll play that out, and we make 2 Goblins and then attack in for a lot of damage. Opponent goes Foothills into an Epicure, then a Gleeful Demolition, and nothing else from them. We top deck a Ragavan, we'll dash that out, and we'll attack in with the team. Maths for blockers. They scoop it up. These Rebel Masters were huge. Let's get on to sideboarding, and I don't think we want anything here, so we'll submit it. Game 2, our hand looks great. Opponent goes turn 1 Mountain into an Epicure. We draw a Verdant, we'll go Gorge into a turn 1 Hierarch. Opponent casts out a Manamorphose, then cast Kodoltha Rebirth and a Hatewire Might, attacking in for 1. We draw Sokenzan, we'll play our Gorge, then cast out a Squee, and we'll attack in, and opponent takes 4. Opponent plays out a Haywire Might into a Bushwhacker, and we'll take a few points of damage here, and we're down to 4. We find another land, we'll cast out our Ragavan, play a Foothills, and hold up Bone Crusher and Sokenzan, and opponent has a Bushwhacker, and I think that's us dead. Well, they didn't attack in with everything, so I think we can actually survive here. So we'll fetch out a Mountain, and then use our Sokenzan, and we have to block with everything going down to 1. We do draw a creature, so we can play Spyro out, discard our 2 spells, getting 2 1/1s. Finding a Coco. Sadly, we can't cast it because of our fetch lands, though. Oh, and then they have an Epicure killing us. So let's get on to game 3. Game 3, our star looks great. We'll go turn 1 Gorge into a Hierarch, and they go turn 1 Stomping Grounds into an Epicure, then cast out a Memnite. We find a Coco, we'll fetch out a Forest, and then cast out a Rebel Master, attacking in for 2. Opponent plays a Mountain into another Epicure, into a Kodoltha Rebirth. We find another land, we'll play out a Foothills, fetching a Mountain, and then cast our Collected Company, which finds a Samut and a Ragavan, and we'll attack in with Samut and our Goblins, and Samut connects, drawing us a card, which is a land, and then they trade off. Opponent casts out a Burning Tree into a Chatterstorm. We draw another land, we'll go to combat, and actually, I forgot this is a Goblin, so we'll tap it and cast our Stomp now, killing the Burning Tree. Then we'll attack in with Samut, Ragavan, and a Goblin token. Now, and they take the damage, so Samut draws us a card, and Ragavan triggers, and we exile Memnite, drawing another land. So we'll cast Memnite, play out Ragavan, shocking in our Stomping Ground, and then cast in a Bone Crusher. Opponent plays out Bobble, looking at their top, then cast out an Epicure, and we draw a Squee. So we'll play that out, and then we'll attack in with everything. And opponent lines up some blocks, going down to 1, and we draw 3 off Samut. Oh my god, more lands! And we finally find a Fury, which is the best card in the matchup, so we'll cast that out by evoking it, and kill their board. And they scoop it up. Let's get on to match number 4. Match 4, we're on the play, and hands a little 2 land light, so we'll mull. And our 6 is much stronger. We'll put back a Forest. We'll go turn 1 Stomping Ground into a Ragavan. Opponent goes turn 1 Vantage into a Goblin Guide, attacking us, revealing a Fury. We'll go to combat, attacking in for 2, and we exile a Searing Blaze. So we'll play out our Verdant, fetch Shock, and cast the Searing Blaze, killing this Goblin Guide. Opponent plays out a Canyon, passing. We draw a Gorge, we'll play that out, and cast out our Coco. And in response, they bolt our Ragavan. And we pick up Samut and a Seasoned Pyromancer. And with our Spyro, we'll discard Bone Crusher and a Fury, finding Forest and a Bomat Carrier, then attacking with Samut, and they bolt our Samut. Opponent suspends a Rift Bolt and plays out a Canyon. We draw a Hierarch, we'll play Forest into our Bomat, then attack in for 5, and then we'll cast out our other Spyro, discarding our Hierarch, finding Fury and another Spyro. They Rift Bolt us in the upkeep. Opponent casts a Swift Spear into a Skewer, killing our Spyro, and attacks in for 2, and we'll chump block with our Elemental. Then they play a tap Sacred Foundry, we top deck a Samut, we'll cast that out, then we'll attack in with the team, and they bolt our Samut. They're down to 2, and then we'll evoke out a Fury, killing their Swift Spear. Then opponent casts a Bolt on themselves, and in response, we'll sack our Mailman, finding a Squee and a Sokenzan. So let's get on to sideboarding. And again, I don't think we want anything for this matchup, so let's get on to game 2. Our hand looks amazing. Opponent goes turn 1 Mountain into a Goblin Guide, exiling a Din, revealing a Din, and we draw draw it. We top deck up a Seiju, we'll play Din into a Ragavan. Opponent attacks him with Goblin Guide, revealing a Coco, and we won't block. We'll go to combat, attacking with Rag, exiling a Skewer, so we will skewer down their Goblin Guide. Then we'll play Copperline Gorge into a Wall of Roots. And on our end step, they Boros Charm us, putting us down to 12. Opponent goes Mesa into a Lava Spike. We draw a Bone Crusher, we'll play out our Verdant, fetching out a Forest. Then we'll cast out a Coco, getting a Hierarch and a Samut, and we'll attack in for 4, drawing into a Fury. Oh, and they're on Ragavans of their own. Interesting. And on our end step, they Boros Charm us. And we'll use our Boseiju now, getting rid of their White Source. Oh, I forgot this is... I'm so dumb, never mind. Don't worry about me. They cast out a Swift Spear. We'll evoke out our Fury, pitching our Samut, killing their Swift Spear. Then we'll use Wall of Roots to activate our Den of the Bugbear, and they path our Den. Then we'll attack in for 4, and we exile Lava Spike, which we'll cast. And we have lethal next turn. No Boros Charm, please! An opponent did nothing. We'll attack in, and Ragavan exiles a Lava Spike. We'll go for the Spike, killing the opponent. And in response, they have a Helix, but we have a Bone Crusher Giant to kill them. And we're 4-0. Let's get into the 5-0 match. My God, we're high rolling. We're on the play again. We'll keep this. We'll go turn 1 Gorge into a Ragavan. Opponent goes turn 1 Steam Vents into a Stripe River Winder Cycle. Then evokes out a Grief, and they take our Fury. We draw land. We'll attack in with our Ragavan, exiling land, and then we'll cast our Bone Crusher. Opponent plays out a tap Steam Vents. We draw another Bone Crusher. We'll attack in, and opponent's down to 9. And we exile a Violent Outburst. We'll play out another Ragavan, then play our land, holding up Bone Crusher, and then they cycle Curator. Opponent plays a Spire Bluff and then cycles a Street Wraith. This means they can't Cascade. We might actually steal game 1. We untap, drawing a Den. We attack in for 6, and opponent's down to 1. So we'll play out a Wall of Roots into a Den, holding up Bone Crusher, and they cycle 2 Architects in our instep. Opponent plays out a Botanical Sanctum. I think we're gonna win this one, and we do. Let's get on to sideboarding. We're gonna take out 4 Bone Crushers, 2 Wall of Roots, a Goblin Master, and a Squee for 3 Maguses, 3 Endurances, and 2 Veils. Game 2, our hand's a little too slow, so we're gonna mull this. And our 6 is much better. We'll put back a Ragavan. Opponent goes turn 1, tap Steam Vents. We find a Den. We'll go for turn 1 Den into a Ragavan. On our end step, they cycle Street Wraith. They play a Boseiju and then Dead Gone our Ragavan. We draw land. We'll play out our Foothills and then play out a Bomat Courier. Then attack in for 1. The reason I didn't play out a Hierarch is because we can sack this and discard our hand, which is really good against Living In. They cycle Curator, then cycle Street Wraith, then play out a Foothills, which fetch shocks for Breeding Pool. We draw Foothills. We'll attack in with Bomat. Then we'll play Foothills, fetching out a Forest, and then play our Magus. And in response, they cycle a Curator, and Magus resolves. Opponent plays out a Mountain. Opponent evokes out a Grief, taking our Coco. And then we top deck a Samut, which we'll play out. Then attack in for 5, and we draw land off Samut. We'll play a land, passing back, and we win the game! Let's go! Holy 5-0. Oh my God, this deck was so sweet. I hope you all genuinely enjoyed this video. This deck was super sweet. Please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.